All right, guys. So the first thing I want to do as far as the home page here is get the popular movies. I think that's a good, easy first step for us. So we want to make a fetch request to the movie database, get the popular movies, and display them on the page. So if we look at this documentation right here, this is the endpoint that we want to hit with a GET request. And we do need to include our API key with this. That is required. So let's go ahead and create a function that we can use from within other functions to fetch data rather than calling fetch from every function where we need it. So I'll just create a comment here. Let's say this is going to fetch data from TMDB API. So I'm going to use a sync here because we're using a sync await. And let's say function, and we'll call this fetch API data. And that's going to take in an endpoint. And then I'm going to create a variable, all caps, API key, and I'm going to put my API key in here. Now, I feel like it'd be irresponsible if I didn't explain that if this were a production application, you probably shouldn't do this because people would be able to get your key. What you would most likely do if this were production is you would have your own back-end server that you'd make a request to, and that's where you would store this key so that other people couldn't get it. And then you'd make your request to the movie database from your own server. Also keep in mind that if we do it like this, the API key will be in your repository if it's public and people can get it from there. So normally you would have it in like a .env file on your server, and you wouldn't put that in your repository. But we're just putting it in here just for convenience and just for learning purposes. So I just wanted to kind of give you that warning. And it would be really stupid for anybody to get it anyways because they can get their own for free, and it's not like it's a service you're paying for or anything like that. All right, so let's also get the API URL. I'm going to put that in a variable as well. And that's going to be HTTPS and then API dot the moviedb.org. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. The moviedb.org and then /3/. So the 3 is the version. If you create a public API and people use it, then people are depending on that API and all the endpoints. If you mess things up and you start changing things, then it's going to break people's applications. That's why they just create a new URL with a version number when they change things. All right, so now we just want to create the response. So say response equals await, and then we want to make the fetch call. And we're going to pass in here some backticks. The first thing we want is the URL. And then we want the endpoint. Now, I'm not going to put a slash here because I have a slash at the end of the API URL variable. The string here has a slash, so I'll end up with 2 slashes. So I'm not going to put a slash. If you want, you can put a slash here and then take this one off. It's up to you. But I'm just going to say endpoint, and then we have to put a question mark with the API key as a query string, and then we want to set that to our API underscore key. And again, this request would probably be made on a server if this were production. And then I'm also going to put the language, so ampersand, and then let's say language, and set that to en-us. And the reason I know I can put language on here is from the documentation. You can see here, these are the possible query strings. So now we want to get the data. So let's say const data equals, we want to await on the promise we get from response.json, and then let's just return that data. Now, where I want to call this, first of all, is from a function to get the popular movies for the home page. So let's go right above it, and let's say async function, and say display popular movies. And just for now, just to see what that gives us, let's create a variable called results, and we'll set that to await, and then call the fetch API data. So anytime we need to get data from the API, we'll call this function, and we'll pass in the endpoint, which in this case is movie/popular. And let's just do a console log of that. or results. And then where we want to call this display popular movies is down here in our little router right here. Say display popular movies. Save that, and we'll open up the console. So it looks like we get an object, and we get the results array. It shows us the total pages. Now, I'm not going to have pagination on the home page for the popular movies. You can do that if you want, but really where I really care about the pagination is the search. So if we look here, it's going to give us 20 by default, and each one is an object with all this data on it. Okay, so we know that that's successful. We're able to fetch the data. So now let's come back up here to display popular movies, and we can see it's an object that has a results array. So it's an array called results. So what I'm going to do is destructure this. Actually, I can just put curly braces around results like that. And now if I console log results, I get the straight array. And that's what I want. Now, I basically want to display one of these cards for every movie that we fetch. So to do that, let's first of all go to our HTML and look at the structure. All right, so this is index.html. If we come down past the search box where our popular movies are, inside this div, you can see each movie is wrapped in a div with the class of card. Okay, and I just have it in here. I think there's eight of these. Right? Yeah, if we make this bigger, yeah, there's 2 rows of 4. So what we can do is copy one of these divs with the class of card. So we'll just grab that. We can actually cut it, and then we can get rid of the rest of these because this is all just dummy data. So let's see where this popular movies ends. So yeah, right here, and then we can get rid of all the card divs inside of that popular movies. So to here. So this will really clean up our HTML. So if I save that, everything's going to go away. But now let's go to our script.js, and we'll get rid of this console log, and we're going to take the results, which is the array of movies, and we're going to loop through it. And we'll say for each movie, then we're going to want to create a new element. So I'm going to create an element called movie. We'll call it movie EL, so movie L. Or actually, let's call it div. I usually like to call it what we're actually creating. So let's say document.create element, and we're creating a div. And it looks like I forgot the equals. And then let's see, we're going to add a class of card. So let's say div, and we'll do class list dot add, and we're going to add the class of card. I know I copied. We have that in the clipboard right here, card. So we're going to have to get rid of that because we're creating it here. So after that, let's say the div. We want that div inner HTML, and we'll set it to some backticks. And then here I'm going to paste in what I copied, but I'm going to get rid of the div with the class of card and the ending div because we're creating that here. But we do want everything inside of it. All right, and what we can do is we can replace all the dummy data here with data from the actual movie. Okay, so for each movie. So first, let's do the title. So right here is the title. So we can get rid of that, and now I should be able to put in here movie.title. Right. Another thing we're going to want to change is in the link. So we have a link to the details page. Instead of ID of 1, we want to change that to the movie ID. So let's say movie.id. And then let's see. We'll do the image last. Let's go down here to the release date, and we'll get rid of all these X's. And let's just put in here movie dot release date. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it except for the image. Now, some movies don't have images, So what we're going to do is check for movie.posterPath because that's where the image is stored. So I'm going to, let's see, how should we do this? I'm just going to copy, I'm going to cut this right here, this image with the no image, and inside of our money sign curly braces, let's check for movie.poster_path. So we're going to use a ternary operator here. If that's there, I'm just going to go on the next line. So if that is there, then we're going to put in some backticks, and I'm going to paste in this image, but instead of the no image, we're going to change it to the path because this means that it is there. So let's see, we want to change, there's actually a URL that we have to put in here. So it's going to be HTTPS and then it's image.tmdb.org and then /t/ and we can make this different sizes. We're going to say T/P/W500, so with 500, and then we want to put the poster path. So we're going to say movie.poster_path. All right, now down here after the backtick, we want to put our else, because remember this is a ternary. Then I'm going to put another set of backticks, and we want to then paste in the no image. So basically what we're saying here is if there's a movie poster path, because if there's no image, this will be null or false or something. But if it is there, we're going to show that image. If not, then we're going to show that flicks no image that I have in my image directory. All right. For the alt here, we should probably also put you can put the movie title. So movie dot, is it title? Is it title? Yeah. Didn't know if it was title or name. So yeah, I think that should do it. Now we want to put this into the DOM, right? This div that we created and we added this inner HTML to. So let's go down here and let's say document.querySelector, and we're going to select the ID of popular-movies, and then we'll go ahead and append child, and we want to pass in that div. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that and check it out. And it looks like it worked. So it's going to be it should be 20 of them, right? And you can change the value. You can also add pagination if you want. I'm going to show you how to add pagination later when we do the search results. But for the home page, I just want like I think 20 is fine. The top 20 newest, most popular movies right now, which it does look correct. Looks just like the movies that I'll see on like my smart TV or whatever. All right, so that's done. In the next video, what I think we should do is the TV shows, because we're pretty much going to do the same thing. We're going to fetch the TV shows from a different endpoint and then put them into the DOM.